Down goes Frazier!
What's up with it, family? It's your boy Hot Boxing Minute. Back at you with that uncut realness as only I can deliver it to you. Hit that like button before we do anything. It's good for the algorithm. You already know how this YouTube thing works. We're going to be talking about boxing. I am yours truly, Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst. And we got some fights coming up this weekend. Oh, for sure. And oddly enough, it's going to land on a Thursday. We got Shakur Stevenson fighting Edwin De Los Santos going down out there in Las Vegas Grand Prix week. And it lands on a Thursday, right? A lot of people are really upset that it's on a Thursday, you know, and I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, they're booing. They're booing. And I don't know what the agenda is. A lot of people are upset that Shakur Stevenson is fighting Edwin De Los Santos on a Thursday. And I don't really know if that's an agenda-based hatred or not. Hey, I've seen fights all the time that go down on Sundays, fights that go down on Wednesdays. What difference does it make if it's a Thursday? A lot of people have working jobs, and my heart goes out to those of you who work those messed up hours and aren't able to stay up until, 10 o'clock at the latest to finish a fight. Oh, actually, on the East Coast, I guess it is a little bit later. Sorry, my East Coast peeps, you're going to get dragged on that one. Hey, these things happen in boxing. So the logic behind moving it to Thursday was because F1 Grand Prix is going to be in Las Vegas. They're expecting 100,000 people per day the day of the races. They built a 3.8 mile long racetrack out there in Las Vegas. So, they built this 3.8 mile long racetrack out there in Las Vegas. The event F1 Grand Prix is expected to generate like $1.3 billion. And the general idea behind placing Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos on that day is that crowd will trickle in to watch the fight on a Thursday night. People from all over the world, international rich ballers, are going to be looking for something to do on a Thursday night. And why not catch one of the most talented fighters in the boxing game? At least as far as most boxing people are concerned, Shakur Stevenson is that guy. So I think it's not a bad idea to try something new, to expand boxing to different markets. Boxing community, whether or not we want to embrace the idea, boxing is an international sport, and America is not the total center of the universe. They're selling out arenas. They're packing stadiums in the UK. They've obviously got the stuff going on in Saudi Arabia. These are not the only places that big fights are happening around the world. So it isn't a bad idea to try to get an international audience to get some exposure to seeing Shakur Stevenson on flyers and on banners on the Las Vegas Strip during the week of F1 racing. Coffee. I'm a caffeine addict, y'all. There's one thing I am addicted to, it's caffeine. I have been doing a lot better with processed sugars, although there is artificial sweetener in this. Cutting out processed sugars, y'all, I'm telling you, it's the best way to go. Anyways, Shakur Stevenson. What can you say about Shakur Stevenson, man? That dude is Brick City's finest. Arguably one of the most greatest technical marvels in boxing in the United States right now, representing Brick City. He was the silver medalist in the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics for boxing. Shortly afterwards, he started his professional career, and he's been pretty much untouched thus far in his career. I think all in all, he might have lost as many rounds as you can count on one hand in all the fights he's had in his pro career. He doesn't lose very many rounds of boxing. He's one of those hit and not get hit masters. He got his first title in 2019 in a vacant title shot, WBO featherweight strap, against Joet Gonzalez, who also had a deep amateur pedigree. For those of you that didn't know, Joet Gonzalez has a sister named Yahaira Gonzalez. There was a little bit of the buildup because she dated Shakur Stevenson, so there was like family issues. The family didn't like Shakur during the build-up to that fight. Yahaira Gonzalez just won a qualifier at the Pan American Games down in South America in Chile, and she is going to be on the Paris 2024 USA Women's Olympic Boxing team. So shout out to Yahaira Gonzalez. But we're talking about Shakur Stevenson. That first strap he got was against Joet Gonzalez in 2019. And then he got his second strap in 2021 by beating his former stablemate. They used to train out there in Nebraska under Bomac, Jamel Herring, in a vicious beating. And then he ended up beating my guy, Oscar Valdez, in a pretty one-sided affair. Shout out to my guy, Oscar. He put up a valiant effort, but it's Shakur Stevenson, yo. And he ended up getting the WBC belt. The fight after that, Shakur Stevenson had a match with, gosh, who was it if I'm not mistaken? Oh, it was Robson Concecaio if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was. And it was he had the WBO and WBC straps, and he ended up coming in heavy, and they stripped him of his belts on the scale. Robson Concecaio had a chance to win those straps, but he ended up getting beaten pretty handily. And now here we are, Shakur in his second test at 135 pounds. His first fight was against Shuichiro Yoshino. A lot of boxing fans were not really familiar with Shuichiro Yoshino. Shuichiro Yoshino was the guy that pretty much ended Felix Verdejo's boxing career. And yeah, let's thumbs down for Felix Verdejo. Yeah, he was recently convicted, and I believe he's sentenced to like 20 to life or something for the homicide of his ex-girlfriend. But Felix Verdejo used to be somewhat of a lightweight prospect representing Puerto Rico. He was getting crazy knockouts, and he got knocked out in from what it seems, Felix Verdejo is a not so good.
I don't like that shit. For sure, bro. I don't like that shit.
There's nothing wrong with protecting our women, folks. Lock them animals up. Just saying. So he got the TKO stoppage over Shuichiro Yoshino. That was at the mercy of the judges, mind you. So Lord knows if the referee would have let Shakur Stevenson go on, he would have likely got the stoppage. He was beating the dog crap out of Shuichiro Yoshino. Now we end up here. His next opponent is Edwin De Los Santos of the Dominican Republic. Edwin De Los Santos is one of the dark horses of the lightweight division, folks. He's got such a fascinating story, pretty much fighting in small club venues, in club events, and then he gets the opportunity of a lifetime. Last minute, he replaces Jezreel Corrales on the card to fight Rayo Valenzuela. He came into that fight a plus 600 underdog, and if I'm not mistaken, he did have some advanced notice, but he was legitimately not confirmed as the replacement for Jezreel Corrales due to visa problems up until like a week out before that fight with Rayo Valenzuela. So Edwin De Los Santos came into that fight relatively unknown against Rayo Valenzuela, and he was a plus 600. He was a 6-1 underdog. So whoever bet money on that cleared the house. I believe this was on the undercard for the Ruiz versus Ortiz fight. And yeah, he ended up getting that crazy, what was it, a third round stoppage over Rayo Valenzuela. And ever since then, Edwin De Los Santos has been huge on everyone's radar. Edwin De Los Santos is a very, very explosive, very strong southpaw. He can move real well, move laterally. So this should be a fun fight with Edwin De Los Santos against Shakur Stevenson. Boxing community, do you really think that Edwin De Los Santos can pull off the upset against Shakur Stevenson this Thursday? Let me know in the comments section, y'all. Let's chop this one up. I love a good upset, y'all. I love a good upset. I'm not picking Edwin De Los Santos to win by upset, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. Some of you might remember when Shakur Stevenson was fighting, what was his name? Nakatila. By the way, Nakatila just got knocked out last night by, goodness, what's that guy's name? Oh, I'm forgetting his name. Another top 140 weight prospect. Off the top of my head, I'm forgetting his name. Nakatila got lost out. But anyways, prior to losing to Shakur Stevenson on points, Nakatila was seen as a heavy-handed knockout artist. Nakatila has heavy hands. And Shakur Stevenson got hit real nasty early in that fight. Didn't really get wobbled, but he was pretty much on that back foot fighting really evasively for the most of that fight. And a lot of people are under the impression that Shakur Stevenson does not like to get hit. He's going to get hit against Edwin De Los Santos. So if Edwin De Los Santos can crack him clean enough, he might be able to knock, Shakur Stevenson off of his square, off of his pivot, off of his focus, and maybe capitalize on it. I don't know. We're going to have to find out once they get in the ring. But on paper, Edwin De Los Santos does have all the tools, the technical skills. We saw it when he fought at Adorno. When he fought Adorno, he easily outboxed him for all 12 rounds, and we had never really seen anybody put the beats on Joseph Adorno in such a manner. So Edwin De Los Santos showed in that fight with Joseph Adorno that he can indeed box. So it's going to be interesting. Can the master chess player Shakur Stevenson really dominate Edwin De Los Santos in the same way that he's done in his previous fights? We'll find out soon enough. I think Shakur Stevenson will get tested in this fight. As good as Edwin De Los Santos is, he does have certain technical flaws. He does like to keep his chin up in the air. He does. I believe that Shakur Stevenson does have a better jab. I think Edwin De Los Santos might be more athletic, but Shakur Stevenson is just precise with his technique. And at this point in the game, it is almost impossible to bet against Shakur Stevenson. I wouldn't. I'm picking Shakur Stevenson to win this by a controversial decision. Might be a UD, might be a majority decision. But I think it's going to be a decision, and I hope he gets tested because we want to see what Shakur looks like when he's under legitimate pressure. In the future, we'd like to see him against Devin Haney or Gervonta Tank Davis. Who knows? If Edwin De Los Santos wins this fight, y'all, oh my gosh. The chaos that would ensue. I'm all for it. I want to see it. So the co-main event to this Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos fight is going to be Emanuel Navarette versus Robson Concecaio. It's likely they picked up Emanuel Navarette on the undercard or co-main event to that fight to bring more interest in that fight. I'm just saying, we all know the Mexicans support the Mexicans. This is not some kind of narrative. They love supporting their own, especially when they're champions. Like Emanuel Navarette, who is a 3-division champion. He's going to be fighting Robson Concecaio as the co-main event to Edwin De Los Santos versus Shakur Stevenson. That would make Robson Concecaio the third similar opponent that Emanuel Navarette has with Shakur Stevenson. You got Robson Concecaio, you got Pitufo Diaz, you got Joey Gonzalez. That's 3 people you can comparatively look. So once that fight's done with Emanuel Navarette and Robson Concecaio, assuming Emanuel Navarette wins, you can go back and you can look at the way they fought each other and make your comparisons, even though the general rule of thumb in boxing is triangle theories do not hold up. But it looks like the invisible hands of the chessboard are moving towards trying to get a fight between Emanuel Navarette and Shakur Stevenson. And I think I can speak for most boxing fans when I said we would love to see that fight. I mean, we're not going to get Tank versus Shakur. Let's be realistic here. That's not happening anytime soon. Devin is at 140 pounds. I think the big money fight for Shakur right now at this present moment in his career, in his weight division, would be like some sort of catchweight fight with Emanuel Navarette. I love the idea of that. A 2-division champion, former Olympian Shakur Stevenson against a 3-division human lawnmower machine that just kind of chews up and spits these fighters out, Emanuel Navarette. Boxing community, what do you think about Emanuel Navarette versus Shakur Stevenson? I think it's a great fight. Let me know in the comments section. Let's chop this one up. So, drink. So, on that card, there's also a bunch of fun prospects. You got to love Top Rank. I'm not going to be debating with anybody on this fact. Top Rank, they vet their fighters better than any other program on earth. They put their people in tough. They don't even care. If you're going to rock with Top Rank, they're going to put you in tough, whether or not they like it or not. And they have the best, what's the term? The best fight matching scheme in all of boxing. Out of PBC, out of Golden Boy. It's just Top Rank does not waste their time. They're not going to waste their time with you. They'll stick you in tough immediately. So their undercards are always, always awesome. On this undercard, you got Troy Isley against Vladimir Hernandez. That is going to be such a fun fight. Do not sleep on that one. They're going to be in an 8-rounder, a middleweight affair. Troy Isley is a former U.S. Olympian and a great prospect in the middleweight division. He's undefeated. He signed with Top Rank. And then you got Vladimir Hernandez. Vladimir Hernandez is this dark horse in the middleweight division. Tough Mexican. He's got some losses on his record, but he has pulled off some amazing upsets. His most recent one was a win over Lorenzo Truck Simpson. He's beaten Julian J. Rock Williams. He's got a win over Alfredo Angulo. This dude, Vladimir Hernandez, is no joke. So Troy Isley, many of us believe Troy Isley to be the goods. Shout out to the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. That whole area up there produces immense talent constantly. You got Demetrius Andrade from Maryland. You got Lamont Roach. You got Gervonta Tank Davis. You got the Gary Russell Jr. family. They're all come from that area. They got such a great amateur system and invested in the pros quite well. Troy Isley is part of that heritage, and he's in there tough against Vladimir Hernandez. Like I said, Vladimir Hernandez has those key wins. Troy Isley has a deep amateur pedigree. So, boxing community, for those of you who are familiar with Troy Isley's story and Vladimir Hernandez's pattern of upsetting the apple cart, turning over the apple cart, how do you think that fight plays out between Vladimir Hernandez and Troy Isley on the undercard to Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos? Let me know in the comment section, y'all. Let's chop this one up. And you've also got Floyd Cashflow Diaz against Max Ornelas. That's an 8-round bantamweight affair. Floyd Cashflow Diaz, that's a Floyd Mayweather fighter, folks. He's an undefeated bantamweight. Very fun to watch. Max Ornelas, I watched him lose a split decision in a very, very fun competitive fight at the Pechanga Arena out there in San Diego. If it's a big fight out there in San Diego, I tend to watch those. So you're going to want to watch that fight. Of course, Emiliano Vargas against Brandon Mendoza, 6 rounds. You got to watch Emiliano Vargas. He's easily the most talented out of all the Vargas brothers. Not that they're not all talented, but you're going to want to watch Emiliano Vargas. Another one I'm very interested in is Abdullah Mason versus Jose Cardenas. I don't suppose Jose Cardenas is going to have much to put up against Abdullah Mason. Not many people are. That kid, Abdullah Mason, is arguably one of the best young prospects in the lightweight division. Watch out for that kid. I'm telling you right now, that kid, Abdullah Mason, is the truth. Whoo! Yes, I'm saying it. But they got a slew of other great undercards on that event. So if you're not doing anything Thursday night, y'all, check out that fight card, because if you're like me, you love watching good fights. And yeah, I love watching good fights.
To this day. To this day. To this day.
Oh, Deontae, the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Since I just brought him up, why not pivot to the issue of the Bronze Bomber Deontae Wilder, folks? Anthony Joshua and Deontae Wilder, we got some news regarding them two. And a fight card. They're going to be fighting on the same night, oddly enough, but not against each other. As per Dan Rayfield confirmation on December 23rd out there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Anthony Joshua has tentatively agreed to a fight with Otto Wallin. Some of you might remember Otto Wallin from going life and death with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury. Otto Wallin has not lost since that fight against Tyson Fury and has consistently stayed busy. Otto Wallin is a very dangerous fight for Anthony Joshua. And then you've got Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Bomb Squad. Got to give it up to Deontay Wilder, the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world. He is slated to fight Joseph Parker, of all people. Now, I know a lot of people are upset because we're not getting Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Hey, you can grab all you want, or you can enjoy this fight. And ideally, I think the idea is at some point early next year to get AJ versus Wilder inside the ring for a super fight out there in either Saudi Arabia or possibly Nigeria in Africa. This has also been talked about on several different platforms in several different interviews with Deontay Wilder, with Anthony Joshua, with Eddie Hearn. So let Anthony Joshua get that second fight under Derek James against Otto Wallin. Of course, we haven't seen much from Deontay Wilder since that fight against Tyson Fury, that trilogy. He had that barely first round knockout of Robert Helenius. We want to see a little more than that. Let them get a little more acclimated and then stick them in the ring together. I'm confident that they'll fight each other. Don't lose hope in the idea of Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fighting each other. At this point in their respective careers, it's the biggest money fight on the table for both of them, in my opinion. Easily. Oddly enough, they would make more money fighting each other than I believe they would in any combination fighting Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk. Odd as that sounds, I think people really want to see AJ and Deontay Wilder. Do you think that fight still has value? Let me know in the box in comments, y'all. Let's talk about this. On the undercard to that, they're also talking about including a fight between everyone's favorite light heavyweight boxing champion, Dimitri Bivol, and Popeye the Sailor Man, Richard Rivera. Now, for those of you who don't know who Richard Rivera is, do not sleep on that guy. He's only lost one fight. He was at 168 pounds, and he fought Badu Jack and lost in a split decision, and many people, including myself, felt that Richard Rivera won that fight. Richard Rivera is a fun, charismatic fighter. He's got great footwork. He's got a good amount of pop. I do believe he will present an awesome skill set and a good amount of problems against Dimitri Bivol. We have not actually seen Dimitri Bivol against another super mobile fighter that likes to box, that can move laterally, that can go in and out and mess with the ranges. That's what Richard Rivera brings to the table. And we all know Dimitri Bivol, easily one of the best in his division, if not the best outside of Artur Beterbiev, him and them are 1A, 1B. But Richard Rivera should be a fun fight against Dimitri Bivol. At the least, Richard Rivera is wildly charismatic, wildly entertaining, and he's fun on the microphone, which will help sell the fight because Lord knows, Dimitri Bivol isn't the biggest talker and isn't exactly a fight seller himself. I like that affair. That's just some of the fights being mentioned on that December 23rd date. It's going to be promoted by Queensberry Promotions and Frank Warren and them. I think it's a great idea. Deontay Wilder actually has been talking about fighting Anthony Joshua for some years. If you don't know, they were supposed to fight back when they were all champions. I think that would have been the ideal time to do it. But there's even talk about, Deontay. There's even talk about Deontay Wilder possibly stepping into MMA. In a recent interview with Blue Blood Boxing, Deontay Wilder was talking to Blue Blood in an interview, and he said he's more than interested in switching over and trying MMA. He even said that him and Francis Ngannou were supposed to fight first, but the business talks fell apart, and that's how Francis Ngannou got the Tyson Fury fight. This is according to that man, Deontay Wilder. He also said that he has no problem, putting on the 4-ounce gloves, and that he has been thinking about mixing MMA and boxing. And I think after the great, amount of online social media attention that the fight between Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Francis Ngannou, after all the attention that event got online, I think it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility to possibly see a fight between Francis Ngannou and Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. It could be out in Saudi Arabia, or it could be out there in Africa. Deontay Wilder has Nigerian roots. We already know Francis Ngannou is Cameroonian. I think it'd be a great fight. You got two crazy knockout punchers, so those are all prospectively in the talks. Just something I thought I'd throw out there. Is there any interest in seeing Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury? Let me know in the comment section if you think they're worth seeing in a ring together. Boxing community, let's chop this up. And I think that about is where I'm going to end the video, y'all. Thank you for joining me. If you kept up with me on this part, boxing is in a fun, entertaining place for this coming week. Hit that like button, leave a comment or question in the box below. Hit that follow if you're not already following my content, y'all. You know who this is. This is Hot Boxing Minute, the future of boxing analysis on YouTube and TikTok. Peace.